Hello, boys and girls. Now that we have learned what our classroom rules are and learned some ways to follow those rules, let's watch a quick video on ways to follow rules and ways we don't follow the rules. Let's begin with our first rule. Listen when your teacher is talking. Some ways we can follow this rule is making sure our eyes are on the teacher when she is speaking, making sure our mouths are closed when the teacher is speaking, and making sure our listening ears are on. These are all good ways to follow the rule, listen when the teacher is talking. Now let's look at ways of not following this rule, or breaking this rule. These are actions we do not want to do or follow. If you are looking off into a distance and are resting your head on your hand or your desk, others around you, including your teachers, can tell you are not paying attention. If you are talking while the teacher is talking, then you are not listening to your teacher. These are examples of breaking the rules, and we do not want to do that. Now, let's move on to rule number 2. Follow directions quickly. Some ways we can follow this rule is, when your teacher asks you to come up to the floor, you get up out of your seat quickly and quietly and sit down right away. You can show your teacher you are ready by sitting crisscross applesauce, having your hands in your lap, facing forward, eyes on the teacher, and ready to listen. When your teacher tells you it is time for lunch or recess, we can quickly and carefully get in a straight line at the door, without talking and keeping our hands to ourselves. These are all great ways to follow the rules, and following directions quickly. Now let's look at some examples of what not to do. An example of breaking this rule would be continuing to sit at your desk after the teacher has asked you to follow directions. Another example of not following this rule is continuing an activity after your teacher told you to put things away. We want to make sure we are always following directions quickly and not breaking the rules. Let's move on to rule number 3. Respect others. We can follow this rule by being nice to all of our friends in the classroom, sharing things such as toys, books, pencils, and other things in the class, raising your hand when you have a question or comment. This way we don't interrupt our friends or our classmates. These are all really good ways to follow the rule, respect others. Let's look at some ways this rule might be broken. Throwing things in the classroom or others is a sign of disrespect towards your teacher and towards your classmates. Teasing or bullying or talking badly about your classmates is also not respecting others. We want to include everyone and treat everyone with kindness and respect. We want to make sure we avoid breaking the rules. Our fourth rule is raising your hand to speak. Whenever you have a question or comment, you should always raise your hand to speak. Even if the teacher is standing right in front of you, it is still respect to others to raise your hand. These are all good ways to follow the rule, raising your hand to speak. We don't want to break this rule, so to avoid that, we want to make sure we don't blurt out answers aloud, yell above our teachers or friends to be heard, or yell out loud that you know the answer. These are things we want to avoid so we don't break the rule, raising our hand to speak. Our last rule, number 5, is to be honest. Some ways to follow the rule of being honest is to always tell the truth to your teachers, adults, and your friends. Some ways of breaking this rule is by lying or cheating off of someone else's work. We want to make sure that we're being honest all the time and doing our own work. Now that we know the rules, we can be sure to follow them. But if we break a rule, it will lead to something called a consequence, where we must take full responsibility of our actions. We will learn about that next week though. For now, let's just focus on following the rules.